joining us. Thanks for covering for those of you who were able to be in the building, but obviously our first goal was to keep everybody safe today. So, well, what I would say quite proudly is legislators showed up, did their job, 10 hours, 4 really important bills. A lot of good work done today, strong bipartisan votes to take up the people's business. Certainly the priority for our office was to make sure that the eviction moratorium and the landlord compensation fund would pass. People were worried about not being able to pay the rent at the end of the month and being evicted. And we can't have tens of thousands of Oregonians being homeless when we are at a very critical spot in the pandemic. The moratorium has been working, and extending it was the right thing to do. And $200 million of an investment, $50 million for rent assistance, $150 million for landlords to help them with past rent arrearages is a substantial investment, taking a very important issue very seriously here at the legislature today. All the other things we did, from the budget bill to the restaurant package to the school limited liability protections, all very important. And as you can see from the floor speeches, all very important to Oregonians around the state, from districts far and wide. Despite our successes today, we didn't do everything that some of us wanted to do. The one particular issue for me was not being able to figure out how to also extend the foreclosure protections that expire at the end of the month. They are an important component of keeping people housed, and hopefully we'll be back on that in 21. What we're turning our faces next week. So we're going to try to get a little time off this week with the Christmas holiday coming up, but we still need to put committees together for 2021. Expect to finish those by the end of next week. We also need to get ready for an emergency board meeting that we need to have before the start of session in January, probably the first week in January, because it has to happen before we convene on the second Monday. And we have to make sure we take care of that 3-month gap that we are anticipating between the expiration of the CARES Act coronavirus relief funds and who knows what's happening at the federal level if more money is coming there. We cannot lose services, whether it's public health services, additional services that all agencies need. Plus, we have some immediate needs for wildfire recovery that we have to deal with as well into the first part of the year, because we're not quite sure how quickly we will be able to convene in terms of doing regular work in the regular session. So the emergency board is very important. So very successful day. You know, Oregonians needed us to show up and do the job, and we did that. So thank you. Look forward to your questions. Mr. President.
The Speaker and I are very different people. She knows that. So I'll just say that I'm not tired, and I wish I was still in session, because I think part of being in a session, especially in the times in which we now find ourselves, especially in the legislature, everything you do should reflect where you are in your communities and in your state, in terms of, if there's tension, reducing the tension; if there's division, reducing the divisions, in addition to making what you think is good public policy. This session will always be one that I remember, but for sad reasons. I'm very sad because I received a email from Connor Rascliffe, who's the president of the press corps, about how 2 members of the media, both were assaulted. I did not know that until I got that. One was tackled to the ground, one was pushed and shoved. I understand doors, there was some violence. I know on this House side there was tear gas, or at least bear spray. And so here we are. All of a sudden, I felt like the Capitol had become an armed camp, state police everywhere. And I just, they took immediate action, and I totally support it. Yeah, we were making public policy inside. And as you know, we had a huge flare up on the Senate floor, which really shook me. So I am grateful that the Senate was able to find a way to get through this day. We accomplished many things, but we did not do everything. But it's very hard in special session tonight. Today was an example why you really got to know what you're doing going into special session and have everything planned. But we did do it in one day. probably the biggest thing we've done, and I don't think the media, maybe you noticed, the 600 million we put in the e-board, because we're going to have an e-board funding. And if you look at where that money is going to go, it's going to churn in the area of trying to deal with the pandemic, the unemployment, also the fire losses. I don't know if we can get it into schools. I sure would like to. That may have been the biggest thing we did. I wish there had been a more bipartisan vote on the landlord tenant bill. That bothers me. We didn't get that. I wish we could have gotten medical liability as well as school liability. That one I'm sad about. So, okay, we had a good day at the end. I just found myself saying, this is the first time I don't want to sign it down. Maybe if we stay here longer, we could feel better. But that's life. These are very difficult times. And I just think if you look at the way the legislature is designed, it's designed so people who don't agree have to agree in order for the greater public. Plus, I do think the speaker and I can't speak for the speaker, we're going to have to get back to the security of the Capitol, even if the Capitol is open, because today is a reminder that we're very vulnerable in that Capitol. Sure, this Capitol is closed, but we're very vulnerable. That makes me sad. I really am so proud of the fact that our Capitol is the most accessible in Oregon. I mean, in this nation now. I realize you say it's been closed since March, then I'll accept that. But when it's open, it's truly open. So I agree with the speaker and things that were accomplished. I just hold things to a certain standard. And I'm just sad today. There was a lot of anger, real anger. There's a real meanness. There's a division, and I just can't find a way to stop it. So I feel that's how Peter feels. So with that, I'll just be still and take your questions or your comments or your criticisms.
Before we do that, it is unacceptable that any journalists doing their job were injured today or assaulted. So I hadn't gotten the full report. I knew there were some reports on social media, so I appreciate the fact that it was clarified, and it's not okay. And I hope everyone will be okay. I had folks down below my window. I heard the chants all, for most of the day until it dissipated later in the afternoon. We have real issues in terms of what people need and people's anger. And we are also trying to keep people safe to do the people's business. And it's not an easy choice that we're trying to balance. And I think you will see in the 21 session for sure, increased efforts to expand public participation while at the same time keeping people safe. And we won't have the recommendations on the protocols for the 21 session ready until next week as well, at least the first set of recommendations out to members. So, but it will continue to be an issue of tension. But until the pandemic numbers improve, until there's wider spread use of the vaccine, a lot of our work will have to be virtual.
So first in the queue are both Peter Wong and Nigel Jaquist, who both asked generally about the violence and the damage that was done outside. Peter or Nigel, do you have any more specifics you want to get into, or just more general comments about what's happened outside today?
Well, just that in the 40 years I've been in and out of this building, I shouldn't have to be on the lookout like a military scout to find a safe way to enter the building, although I entered by my normal route, and fortunately there were no protesters at that particular entrance. So, but I did see the videos of some of my photographer colleagues being assaulted, and we've also had that happen in Portland. So obviously, I don't want to see that kind of behavior migrate to the Capitol. That's more of an editorial comment, but it does impinge on our work.
Well, you do know the Capitol is in my district. I think it's in every senator's district. It's the state capitol, belongs to the people. I am from Salem, and the state police, I called the superintendent this morning and made it very clear to her, I support whatever they need to do to take care of the situation. I will go back to the Capitol Mall and request to meet the state police, because I told in an email back to Connor that I'm more than happy to sit down with him and the state police and others to start to talk about this, because that really shook me when that came to me about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The whole thing struck me. I mean, the speaker herself was coughing, and we were in a certain committee meeting together. She was coughing, I guess, from the effects of the fumes. And I'm sorry. I don't mean to be melodramatic with you. I'm not built this way. And so this is the capital of the state of Oregon. This is the people's building. No. And this is the state capitol. Now, I'm not saying it's acceptable anywhere. It is not. But I'll tell you, no.
And Nigel, any follow-up from you?
No, I think everybody knows the Senate President holds a special place in his heart for the sanctity of the physical building. And so when I saw the windows being broken, I sure wanted to know what he thought about it. And I think he's just told us.
Thank you. Let's go to Maggie Vespa at KGW next.
Yeah, I had a question that was procedural, but given everything you just said, I'm curious, House Speaker or President Courtney, can either of you speak to whether the damage that was being done outside, whether that weighed on your minds as you were voting and as you were conducting business on the floors today? Do you think it weighed on the minds of your colleagues? Just the impact it was fascinating watching you all at work while watching videos come out as to what was happening simultaneously outside the Capitol. How do you compartmentalize, or do you, the unrest outside versus what you all came to the Capitol to do today?
Well, it was certainly disconcerting and frightening for my colleagues, as well as the people who work in this building. For example, when state police officers were sprayed, whatever that was, it got into the system, so you could feel it a little bit on the back of your throat, Senate President. So you had that feeling pretty much all day until late in the day when things quieted down substantially. So it was ever present all day. I think people were worried about it. I think it's interesting to talk about compartmentalizing. The way I think about it is we have to have, that expression as long as it doesn't turn violent. And there was a lot of expression today, but the violence was not okay. And what we need to do is make sure we need to get that eviction moratorium extended. People are going to be homeless by the end of the month. So the gravity of the stuff we needed to get done today was, I think, helped us stay focused, but it was a very stressful day.
I was aware of it, Maggie, in that I got people texting me, my family and things. They said, what is going on? And I remember approaching the state police in the back of the chamber of the Senate and saying, do you think I should go out there? No, Peter, you're not going anywhere. So that sort of caught me by surprise. No, I said, listen, no, you're not going anywhere. And my office was constantly watching things, what was going on, the dynamics of it. I was so involved in trying to deal with amendments to bills and et cetera, et cetera. But I understand one of our members went out and spoke to the group. That's what I heard. So I was always aware of it, Maggie. I was just aware of it. And I guess I really was very aware of it initially when two state troopers, when I came to the building this morning, 2 state troopers are waiting there as our cars go in. And and that told me, okay. And I know another thing is I didn't know if we should do more with security, but the state police were so involved. I hear they had these big SWAT team trucks coming in. I went, this is not good. So I was aware of it. But I can't, it's the old story. You got to suck it up sometimes and just do it, what you do. But yeah, I was always aware of it. And I actually was worried about going home tonight, like Peter. So yeah, I was aware of it, Maggie, but we do what you do. Were there things said and done that might not have been said and done if that hadn't happened? I got to think about that, Maggie. But that's the best I can give you with an answer.
All right,
Next
next.
procedural question. I don't know if you wanted to ask that since.
I'll let everybody go through. I'll come back around. Thank you.
Okay. Dick Hughes next.
Thank you. I have follow-up questions, and so you can choose whichever one you'd like to answer. The one is, do you have any more information or sense of what you might do as far as security procedures in the future, and also what you might do as far as how the 21 session will be put together? That's my question. Thank you.
Well, we had hoped, I think, to be about a week or so, a little further on finalizing some recommendations for the next session in terms of public health protocols and safety protocols. And it took a lot to, when the governor declared a session, we had to turn all eyes to getting ready for today. So I think after Christmas, by next week, we'll be sitting down to talk about some protocols for the 21 session. So I would just say stay tuned. We're balancing how do you get good public process and transparency with providing public health protocols virtually. And we will be sitting down with our Republican colleagues to walk through those things.
I think you could go, if you look at many of the buildings in the mall and your courthouses, you can't get in unless you go through this screening. I don't want to do that, but that may be coming. That may be coming. Plus, if you've been in the Capitol, you can walk right into my office or any caucus, any member's office. Those days may be coming to an end. There's a main hallway, you've got to come and message. If you don't have an appointment, you will not be going down the hallways to the offices. I don't want to do that. That is true of many other capitals. They do that. So if you ask for specific things, I suppose we'll talk about that. I have to also say that one of my members has filed a bill today that the issue of guns in the Capitol, especially in the galleries, an optional, I don't know. I know that has concerned people about, we're very vulnerable from the galleries. I think the speaker had mentioned that up there. So the issue of who can be in those galleries and who can't, we may have to look at that very seriously. I don't like that because that's where the public likes, if they're going to be in person, they like to watch these floor sessions and the Senate sessions. So there's some of the things, but I'm not about to say we're going to go there because as much as, I mean, when the speaker and I closed the building, I believe it was in March, it really, really bothered both of us. It bothers us now that thing is closed. So, but this is going to probably force us to sit down and really run through all the security measures again and decide whether we need to try to do something that's proactive versus wait till something really bad happens.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Claire at the Statesman Journal.
Hi, thanks for doing this. I just had a question about the liability bill for healthcare providers. I wonder if you could kind of take us through how that bill got introduced and the reason that it wasn't successful. I understand there was some opposition from House Democrats. So Speaker Kotek, I wonder if you could speak to that.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Claire. As in all special sessions, it's making sure you have all your work done and have it right before you vote on things in a one-day session. Takes a lot of time and a lot of skill. And there was a lot of work put into that bill. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't quite ready. We were still looking at amendments, you know, an hour before committee. And the big issue for House Democrats, and for me personally as well, obviously, because I voted no in committee on the underlying bill, is we did not take up a couple of amendments, the -3 and the -4 amendments, that would have clarified some consumer protections as well as whistleblower protections for employees in health services, that if, you know, they see things that are not following right protocol and they say something about it, that they will not be retaliated against. Without those protections, it was obviously the House Democrats didn't want to support the bill. We had hoped that we'd move those amendments. That did not happen, so we could not vote for the bill.
So this is a painful thing for me to talk about because I thought we were going to get there. When you have juggernauts against each other, gigandas, the medical community and the trial lawyers, even the public employees, when you've got those kind of players, those are big, those are juggernauts, and you're trying, and they're just like this. And you really gotta, well, it takes an incredible amount of work. Senator Brzezinski, for example, worked so hard on this for so many months. But the thing about this is, when you go into a special session, there's always a chance you're going to lose control of it. And we came very close, I think, back in September. The speaker and I know how close, but we made it. We kept recessing the committee that bill was in today. I was chairing it, kept recessing it, trying, hoping that we could come up with that magic moment that we have the ultimate compromise. And finally, I hate to say it, I said, okay, we're just going to go vote for the bill up or down and be done with it. And I'll always second guess myself on that. But had you waited another half an hour, Peter, another hour, if I could have gotten the speaker to go along with it, could we have had the magic moment? And the one thing today that concerned us, Speaker and I, we are in a very difficult time in terms of this virus. And we did not want to be in that building any longer than we had to be. And we knew we had a certain number of bills, and it was a very tense time inside that building. And so you're balancing, you're constantly balancing. So I'm just sorry we didn't get up that hill. I really wanted to make it. We just didn't. You know, you didn't make it, Peter. You got to come back another day and we'll see what happens. But that piece of legislation I'll always think about. I'm sure the speaker's got a piece of legislation she'll always think about the last special sessions. It's just the way it is. Sometimes you try so hard, you just can't get there, especially when you have a time limit on top of you. You got a virus on top of you. You got people tearing up things outside a building on top of you. I mean, and you just got to say, look, we're going to take a vote. If it makes it, make it. If it doesn't, doesn't. And that's what happened.
For folks who may have joined a little bit later, just if you have a question and want to get it asked, type your name or just type into the chat box. Next, we'll go to Dirk Vanderhart from OPB.
Thanks. I actually was going to ask on the healthcare liability bill too, but since that was answered, I do wonder, you know, President Courtney, you mentioned you and the speaker shut down the building in March, still shut down. Have the state police or anyone given you any understanding how folks got into past those locked doors today? Obviously, it suggests someone with access to the building left them open or opened them or something like that. Do you have any ideas?
Thank you for the question, Dirk. We will be examining the footage around the doors because I had the exact same question when it happened. For anyone to open the doors, intentionally or not, allowed folks into the building that could have escalated into a very dangerous situation. You had individuals who were carrying. We did not have enough police coverage at that time. And as it was, we had 2 OSP officers injured with spray and into our system. So we will be examining that, and that's tomorrow's duty to find out if someone intentionally let people in.
The state police came in my office to talk to me. And at the time, Speaker and I were in a virtual call. So they talked to both of us. But just before they went on that, I asked them, and I want to be very careful. I do not know the answer to your question. I only know the rumors, and I also know the state police. We talked, and I'll simply say that it's under investigation, and we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to be a part of spreading rumors, but it is under investigation, and I assume from what I hear that the results will be made known to the speaker and I in the, I won't say immediate future, but it could be. So we'll go from there, and that's the best answer I can give.
Well, just a quick follow-up. Is there an obvious, I guess it would depend if there was something intentional and what exactly happened, but is there some obvious like potential discipline for something like this? Do you even know? It just feels like a very interesting and weird gray area.
Well, someone let in unauthorized personnel, and that's serious. So stay tuned. Like I said, we're investigating, and it could have been a very dangerous situation.
Well, Dirk, you're very good, Dirk. You're very good. You know, you're really good, Dirk. But Dirk, I'm not going to say what we're going to do or not going to do until the investigation. Would you mind doing that, Dirk? But I am not going to do that, Dirk. I mean, I don't blame you for asking the question, but I am not going to say one way or the other right now, because the level of the discipline, if there is discipline, it depends on the facts. So I don't want to frustrate you. I'm just not, Dirk, going to answer that question. And you knew it before you asked it, but you just wanted to make me feel miserable. I love you, Dirk.
On that note, let's go to Ben Botkin at the Lund Report.
Yes, I was going to ask about the medical liability legislation as well. I just wanted to clarify, the SEIU had an amendment. Was that one that you had supported, Speaker?
Me and my colleagues supported the -3s and -4s. I believe they got posted. Those are the ones that would have needed to have been added to the bill to assure our support. I'm
Thank you.
not sure which one were whose, but those were the two amendments.
But I don't mean to yeah. SEIU had an amendment, the trial lawyers had an amendment, the hospitals had an amendment, the doctors had an amendment.
There's a lot going on.
You really, I mean, there was a ton of amendments. So, I mean, you only asked about those, but you have, in all fairness, the amendments were just kept coming. So I do want to say that for the record.
And just from a process perspective, we try, I'm a never say never type of person. So we keep trying. So we need an hour posting. And if an amendment's not out and an hour ahead of time for us to take it out, we have to suspend the rules. So that's a process issue. Then we need paperwork for each amendment before an amendment can get added to a bill. And we were starting to look at more hours. It was really important for us to do everything we could, but also get people home. I'm still in the building, but getting people out of here by 6 o'clock was a tremendous accomplishment given the length of the day.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Megan Allison.
Hi, thank you. So I know that the two of you had mentioned bipartisan support allowing these bills to pass today. Obviously, there were challenges in bipartisanship in the earlier portion of this year. Did you notice a change in tone for the session today? And do you think that people pulled together given the circumstances of these last few months?
I think we've continued, thank you for the question. I think we've continued to have very frank and open dialogue with the Republican leaders. We're all balancing the needs of our caucuses and the inside and outside the building dynamics. So I think I personally have had a very open dialogue with Representative Drazen about how we can best, do the work we need to do in a fair manner. I will say that in terms of this special session, when the governor decided not to call a session where we could operate completely remotely, it was really important for us to have a narrow agenda with some agreed upon ground rules so we could get done in a day. Because Republicans, if they had not suspended the rules to move bills quickly, it would have taken 3 days to do the work we did today. At least 3 days.
You have to understand that before you get into bills, you have to really know about process or you can really get in trouble. Speakers mentioned that issue. Well, let me mention the issue of quorum. I had to have 20 votes on the floor, which means I had to have some Republicans show up. They were always there. The issue of being able to suspend the rules so we don't read the bills. If we had to read on the floor every single word of every bill we vote on the House and Senate, you would not be talking to us right now because we'd still be there. And I don't know when we get off the floor. So, I'm just telling you, that takes cooperation because those are tools that the minority, if you will, there's fewer of them, there are others, can use. That didn't happen. I believe as late as Sunday, Madam Speaker, maybe I'm wrong, the House Republican leader, the Senate Republican leader, the two presiding officers met. We have been doing these virtuals. I mean, we've been virtual. Literally, we're virtual day and night with those individuals, back and forth, trying to do this together and trying not to do it where just Democrats were carrying bills over the finish line. I think we did a pretty good job of that. I'd like to have had more Republicans voting for the landlord-tenant bill. There were a very few on my side, but I think on most of the other bills, we had huge votes, Madam Speaker, in terms of Ds and Rs. So plus they suspended the rules. They gave quorums. I mean, I'm not going to say that, is there a change? I don't know. I don't ever like to jinx what's coming in the future. I'll just say we had a pretty good day and we'll see what tomorrow brings. But that's Peter. You know me. The glass is not half full. There's no glass at all. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, next we'll go to Gary Warner with EO Media.
Hi, folks. We're less than a month from the regular session. You've been very lucky on these 3 short sessions not to have anybody that I've heard of get ill. nationwide, over 113 state lawmakers have come down with COVID and 5 have died. Are you concerned about trying to have a sustained session a month from now?
Thank you, Margie.
Reggie?
My wife, look, concerned, have you looked at have you been inside the cap? Well, yes. Have you been in the Capitol lately? Have you been?
No.
Hello?
No, I have not.
Well, you can't go to the bathroom unless there's nobody in there and there's a sign says occupied, you can't go in. I don't care what your need is. You got to follow blue lines and tape. Now you can't even use the elevator. Up until Sunday, you could have 2 of us in the elevator. Now you've got to be 1. If you come to that Senate floor, it's like, what happened to all the chairs? Are we concerned? I really wish you shouldn't.
No.
Wait a minute. No. I'm right. This is where I get superstitious. I don't even like to say that we have 2 sessions that we didn't get anybody sick, because we don't know about this session yet, Madam Speaker. We're hoping. I just said in the Senate floor as we were leaving, just before we signed, I hope no one has gotten sick. I am scared to death one of us is going to get sick. I am very nervous about it. And so now you've really ruined my day, because now I'm going to be thinking about it now. Peter, did you get somebody sick? So thanks a lot, Gary. I appreciate it. And I'm scared to death. You better believe I'm scared to death.
Yeah, let me rephrase. I know you're concerned. I guess the question is, are you considering any changes, not having the session or having the session remotely, or delaying the session because the rates are so high right now and we're only a month away?
All right. Yes. There is a major, it's called a hybrid, but hybrids are hybrids. As I recall, Madam Speaker, right now, speaking generally, without giving you the whole plan, we're going to try to do committees virtually, but we cannot vote on bills on the House or Senate floor virtually. We cannot do that. So we're going to have to come in to do that, but we're going to try to do all the committees, correct me if I'm wrong, virtually. And that's how we're going to try to handle it, this long session coming up. Madam Speaker, do you want to add to that? But I think that's more or less where we're going with this thing.
Yeah, so if you think about us as the Speaker and the Senate President, we're basically the landlords of the Capitol building. And so we have to keep not only the people who work for the legislature, the day in and day out crew here at the building, keep them safe, keep members and their staff safe to do their job, and to keep the public safe. It is nearly impossible with the viral load right now to completely open the building. That being said, a lot of our work early in session is committee work. We're a committee-driven process, so a lot of the work early on is committee hearings. So we're trying to figure out how you start to work on bills through committees and then schedule enough floor sessions to keep the process going. And we will convene on the second Monday like we were required, and then we will start, I think it's the following Tuesday with committees will start. The depth of the issues facing the state require us to get into session and keep working. What we've learned from the virtual world is everything is slower. So we're going to need every day and every week of this session by the end to balance a 2-year budget. We have potentially federal stimulus money coming in that we need to figure out what to do with, plus all the other issues that are out there, whether it's COVID response, wildfires, housing, police accountability. We're just have to get started. So again, until we do committee appointments and things like that, we have to get that done. We also have to do the protocols for being in the building and change our rules to accommodate that temporarily, and then see how things go. If people continue to wear masks and follow protocols, I mean, thankfully, a lot of people took the Thanksgiving warnings very seriously, and we've started to level off a little bit with our numbers. The vaccine's coming, but people are going to have to continue to follow their protocols. You saw everybody in a mask today on the floor, and that's not going to change for a while.
So, Dick Hughes, are you still listening or are you falling asleep? So, all right, here's the situation.
I'm listening.
Well, I'm glad to hear you sleep. So I'll make this short. We're getting better at virtual. We really are getting better. I mean, we are, Madam Speaker. We're getting better because we first started. I didn't even know I still don't know how to get on these things. But here's the deal. On Thursday night and Saturday, we held information public hearings on all these bills we voted on today. We had over 130 people testify, if I'm not mistaken, 130. And when you're chairing a minute and you got a timer on people and there's so many, you only can give them 2 minutes apiece. That's sad, but that's what we have. We had 500 pieces of people that whatever you do here to mail in, to email in on those 5 bills. What I'm saying is individuals now are finding they can talk to us from anywhere in this state without driving here or anything by using this thing that you're all using now. And we are getting better at it. Now, I know if you want to be in the Capitol, you're still not going to be happy. But we are really trying to find ways to communicate with the public that have never before been tried by the legislative body. In some ways, Madam Speaker, I think we're fortunate that we've had these special sessions because that has allowed us to get better. Is it the same as having the building open? No. Are the Republicans going to be happy we don't open the building? No. I had a Republican come in my office today and said, Peter, could you let just a few people in? No, I can't do that. Could you open the building in 1 or 2 days back and when we come in January? I can't do that. So this thing is going to churn, but we are constantly looking for ways to do what we're doing with you better. But we're still struggling with how we're going to do the long session. But I think you got an idea of what we're thinking.
And I could just add, I mean, while, as Peter said, we're improving how to do the virtual public process. Think about how, and again, there's always the equity issue of whether or not you have access, but people can still call in. A lot of people have never been able to come down to this Capitol, but I could bet a lot of folks who called in or video linked in for the testimony last week probably have, I know they've never testified before, but they can do it easily or from their home. Think about it's level the playing field. It's not just paid lobbyists and people who have the ability and privilege to come to Salem. We can take a lot of phone testimony that we weren't set up well to do before. So we're going to have a different type of public process, and I think a deeper public process, while we're also keeping people safe, as long as we need to until the numbers are such that we can reopen the building.
And I think that got at Dick's second question. And so I'll go to Maggie Vespa at KGW, and then we're getting close to 7 o'clock. So if anyone has one last question, it might be time to.
I'm not going anywhere. I like to outlast the media in these events. So Speaker, you can go, but I'm going nowhere. You know what? Come on. I'll have it. You know, I'm not kidding. You know what I like?
Just notice the house is closing the building down. You're already home. So.
But here's the deal. They're happy because they don't have to drive into the building. They get to stay right there in their big studio. So you ought to be grateful too.
So glad it's me. Okay, that was terrifying. So the procedural question that I had earlier is relevant to HB 4401. In the floor speeches, we heard a lot of criticisms of the 80-20 breakdown as far as what is being covered by the state. And so I'm curious, what would you say as the presiding officers to landlords, to property owners who are concerned, and they heard about possible tax credits today, and they heard about possible things down the line, but they're concerned, and maybe their tenants are too, if they've been speaking to their landlords. What would you say to them about the road ahead now that that bill is approved?
Well, it's a great question. We'll want to see what the federal government is doing around additional supports for housing. And I think Representative Fahey did a tremendous job on the bill, as well as explaining that on the floor today. So what I would say to folks is, this is the lifeline we can do right now, today. More money directly on rent assistance that does go to landlords. That's 100%. That's 50 million. And that $150 million landlord fund. Yeah, if you voluntarily, participate, you get 80% of rent arrearages that you're not getting now. So it is really a lifeline to our smaller landlords who need it right now. And it's the beginning, because we might put a chunk more into the landlord fund. We're definitely going to put more into rent assistance. We might be able to afford a tax credit with additional money from the feds. I think this is the beginning of an additional conversation that's going to happen very early next year. So everyone knows that housing is important. Everyone knows it's been hard on everybody across the board. And I think we started a good conversation today. It's not the end for sure.
So there's a saying, begun is half done. And I'm just going to tell you that, how do I say that? There were amendments to take the 20% down to 10%. There were amendments for a major tax credit. And there was another amendment, I think it was, and they didn't happen. There is some differences among those of us, even on this call, being very diplomatic now, I'm very careful. But I will agree that in the business that I make public policy. I didn't say I make good public policy. You can do what you want, but that's what the speaker did. We're public policy makers. And I've learned that you say, well, half a loaf is better than none. I'll take a slice. The heck with half. I'll take a slice. And if I can get started, it's my experience of being in the legislature for 400 years, that if you can get started, look out, you got something going. So today we began. And as I say, begun is half done. And I don't know, you're right, Maggie. I mean, to your listeners, the landlord, they're not going to be happy because we didn't do as much. But on the other hand, we did make, I mean, for example, the 150 million, actually, we were told it's like, should be 250. We were talking 170, we compromised at 150. But we got started. And I think the bill spoke to tenants and it spoke to landlords, particularly these smaller landlords. So that's all I can say to you. That's never enough for individuals who believe that, no, my way, and that's it. Well, that's not how this process works if you're going to be in the Oregon legislature.
It's definitely a classic compromise. We had folks who thought it was unfair to tenants. We thought we had people testify it was unfair to landlords. But we're going to hear stories in the next couple of days of people who are breathing a sigh of relief tonight, knowing that statewide, the eviction moratorium will be extended through June. And landlords are going to get some help. Renters are going to get some more help. And we're going to keep people housed in a pandemic. And a lot of people are going to have a much better Christmas because of the bill we passed today.
Great. I think on that note, everyone who joined, particularly on short notice, thank you, and thank you for your coverage.
Is everybody satisfied? Not with our answers. Are you satisfied that you got your answers for your stories? By the way, Speaker knows this. Every day, right after Thanksgiving, don't get me started on what we've done to Thanksgiving. That's another tirade. I start wearing a holiday tie. Not a single one of you have commented on my holiday tie. I'm deeply hurt because, that's part of life too. I didn't say Christmas tie. I don't want to offend. I said a holiday tie. So, I could have, it'd been nice if one or two of you at least would have said, that's a very nice tie. You know what I mean?
Well, Mr. President, this is the only time I'm wearing my holiday tie because I haven't had to dress up, so.
Well, Peter, I like you because of your first name. I love your first name. I'm crazy about your first name. It's a great first name.
Mr. President, I don't want to talk about holiday ties because it would be sexist. But the one question I would ask is, we're having a press conference with Governor Brown tomorrow. What should we ask her, and what was her involvement in this session?
Well, good luck. I mean, you said
how fast is she going to sign the bill?
Good luck. I wish you luck. She did not text me. Well, she called me this morning and left me a message, but she did not text me or call me at any time in the session. That didn't happen last session, but it happened this session. I hope she's happy. If you're out there, Governor, I hope you're happy. If you're not, could we get beyond the holidays before you call me? But anyway, I don't know. I didn't hear from her, Madam Speaker. Maybe you did. I think she worked real hard with this to try to help us in all the legislation. I'm going to say that. So she worked hard to help us get this through. So I'll leave it at that. But I haven't talked to the governor since we signed he died, and I haven't talked to her today.
I did talk to her during the day, and
you got to talk to her. Why did you get to talk to her? Why did I get to
called her, Peter, and I thanked her and just checked in about what was going on around with the protests and
what time did you call her? You know what? That's not okay. I'm going to call her then. I am going to call her after this meeting because I'm hurt.
But I will say that I think if you look at other states, and I'll be the deaths and illnesses of legislators across the country, it's unconscionable and unnecessary. And so, knock on wood, we did everything we could to keep people safe today. And that has been the governor's goal as well. And there's been a lot of collaboration. We don't always agree, nor should we, whether one party or one branch of government tension creates better policy. And we've had lots of conversations about what we needed to do today. And there was agreement across the board that these 4 things had to get done today, and they did. And so I think that's, it's a great way to end the year while but we don't sleep. We're going to be back at this next week. We got an e-board. We have protocols for the office. We have committee appointments. We have all kinds of things. We only had a couple weeks ago. Everyone's working really hard. So, because that's what people need us to be doing right now. So thank you. And you're working hard too. And we really appreciate all the coverage, because people know that we care when you cover our stuff. So thank you.
So I'll give you a question you can ask her, because I need to help you ask questions, Dick. The governor and us, we've had our moments, Madam Speaker, you know this.
Oh, yeah.
You ask her a question about the 600 million, how she wants to spend it, because she has very strong feelings about that. Now it's gone to the e-board, and we've had difficult moments together on where that money goes. So there is a question, and Speaker and I know it. We know it. We're gonna have to talk about it. And there's an example where the executive branch, the legislative branch, sometimes we're natural adversaries. We've been able to overcome that and do a lot of great things, I think, for Oregon. But I do think that 600 million, I really want to do it together, but that's a situation that still we're going to have to work on. I think we will, and I think we'll get there. But that is an area that you might ask her about, and she can talk about where she'd like the money to go. So does that help you, Dick, or anybody else listening? Okay.
Thank you all.
There was a document introduced Thursday night by her office. I think it's under Christian Gaston's name in the meeting materials, that does talk about how she'd like to spend the 600 million, at least broadly speaking. So, thank you all. Have a great evening. Thank you for the extra time, and we'll be talking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.